everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Readathon and today I'm going to be sharing with you my wrap up for the second half of June. I did film a mid-month wrap-up for June just because I did read quite a bit, so I'll leave that video up here somewhere. So if you want to know which books I read at the start of the month, please do check that out. But the month of June was the month of the Make Your Myth Taker Readathon, hosted by Ashley and Charlotte. I will of course leave all the links relating to the Readathon and both of their socials down below for you guys, so please check them out, they are absolutely amazing. But they were hosting a month-long readathon and the premise of it was to basically build a character by taking a certain path and reading books for certain prompts. I am definitely not the best at explaining things, so I would advise you to check out Ashley's announcement video. Yes, the readathon is over, but if you do want information on how it all worked, please watch the announcement video, it's brilliant. I am actually very late in filming this wrap up. It's currently the 9th of July and I'm struggling to remember what prompts I read these books for, but I did complete the witch path at the start of the month, so I will have mentioned that in my first wrap up. And in this wrap up I needed to read 3 more books to become a courtier, which I did, so without further ado let's just get into the wrap up. Also, please excuse my hair, it's crazy today and I can't control it, so it's gonna get wild in this video, just a warning. The first 2 books I'm gonna group together just because they are by the same author, and that is And Then There Were None and Murder at the Vicarage by Agatha Christie. I believe this one was to read a book with royal colours on the cover, which are red, purple and yellow I believe, and they do have red and purple on this, so it definitely fits. This one I've had for a while and I've heard amazing things about, so I finally decided to pick it up and I am so glad that I did because this is amazing. I'm still thinking about it weeks after I read it and I'm still in awe of how Agatha Christie manages to write such a complex mystery in 200 odd pages. If you don't know, this is probably one of Agatha Christie's more famous works and it's very well known, but it is a murder mystery where 10 people get summoned to an island. They don't know who by, they're all from different backgrounds, different jobs, everything like that, so there's no way to link these people together, but one day they are summoned to this island, 10 of them show up and 10 of them die, and it's all about finding out who's the killer because it seems impossible. And like I said, I'm still in awe about this. Even after the reveal I had to go back and reread that little section because I was just so baffled. To be honest with you, I can't really say more because I don't want to spoil it. I feel like it's just best to go into this not knowing anything and experience it for yourself because that's what I did, and I genuinely had the best time reading this and it was such a complex mystery. I would say though that you do need to get past the 70-page mark, I'd say, just because the first few chapters are introducing all of the different characters and their backgrounds and their journey to this island, so it is quite info dumpy and hard to get through and hard to differentiate between characters, but as soon as they are on the island everything falls into place and it's so fast paced from then on. It's absolutely crazy and I had the best time reading this and I did give it 5 stars. Then, like I said, I did read The Murder at the Vicarage. This was not for any specific prompt, I just really wanted a break between 2 books that I will show you next and you'll probably understand why. But after reading And Then There Were None and enjoying it so much, I wanted another murder mystery to break up the books I was reading, just because one is a very dense high fantasy and I didn't want to fall into a reading slump after finishing that, so I picked this one up and I really enjoyed it. If you watched one of my recent reading vlogs, you will know that I am starting to collect and read the Agatha Christie books, mainly Miss Marple, and this is the first book in the Miss Marple mysteries. I've always loved the Miss Marple and Poirot series that were on ITV, I think. I absolutely love watching them. I could watch them all day and I definitely have been doing that in lockdown, so I thought I would get round to finally reading the book. Like I said, this is the first book in the Miss Marple series, so this is not really a complex mystery. This is mainly introducing you to the characters and the village of St Mary Mead, which is where Miss Marple is from. As you can tell by the title, there is a murder at the vicarage and the vicar does find himself roped into the investigation just because, like I said, he is a vicar and so he does daily rounds just to check on the people in the village and to talk to them and that sort of thing. And we get to Miss Marple's house and we find out that she knows a lot more than people first thought. This one is quite funny in the sense that it's such a small village and everyone knows everybody's business, so every person has seen something important because they are so nosy and in each other's business. And so you do get to see all the different characters in here pretend that they are not gossiping and listening to other people's information. And so some are reliable, some are not, and some of them just straight up cause some rumours. So it's quite funny seeing the little town with the nosy old women that people are not too keen on talking to, but the mystery itself is quite basic. I'm not sure where this falls in Agatha Christie's publication list. I'm not sure what stories she published before this one, but like I said, this was mainly set up for Miss Marple and her background and the village, and I feel like the rest of the Miss Marple stories now are going to get more in-depth and more complex with their mysteries. I honestly can't remember the rating for this one. I think I gave it a 3.5 stars, but on Goodreads it'll come up as a 4 because obviously that app doesn't allow half stars. I did really enjoy it, but after just reading something as good as And Then There Were None, this did fall a little bit flat for me, but I can't wait to carry on with the Miss Marple mysteries, and I have just placed an order for about 6 more books of the Miss Marple mysteries, so I should be getting to those pretty soon. Next up, I must hate myself because I completely went off my TBR and I read this beast of a book, which is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is actually over 800 pages. Even though it's massive, I am so glad that I read it in June. I used this for the prompt host favourites, and if you didn't know, Samantha Shannon is one of Ashley's favourite authors. I was going to read The Bone Season, but I've been putting this off for far too long, and at that moment in time I really wanted to read it, so I thought, why not? It still works, let's just pick it up. I loved this so much. I know people said that it was very hard to get into, but I didn't find that at all, and I don't know if it's because I've been reading more high fantasies lately, so I'm used to the writing style, but I was sucked in straight away. The world is just beautiful, the characters are amazing, and of course we have dragons, so what more could you want? This is a story about 2 queendoms, one who worship dragons and one who hates them. There is a lot of politics going along as to why that is, but we do follow a dragon rider from the city that worships dragons, and we follow the queen and one of her servants, subjects, of the kingdom that despises dragons. So I don't really want to say anything because I honestly feel like it's so much better going into this not knowing anything, and I feel like it's also way too complex to try and summarise it in a good cohesive manner without spoiling it. So I will just say that this is an amazing high fantasy story that deals with very heavy and complex topics, and that you should pick it up as soon as you can because honestly it's just brilliant. I read this in a chunk of about 100 pages per day. I felt like that was the perfect way for me to read it. It wasn't too much where I felt a bit slumpy or that I didn't want to pick it up. I always felt like I left this story really excited to go back. This is a standalone, so you can just fly through it and you don't have to commit to a massive series, but I did recently hear that Samantha Shannon is planning on expanding this world a bit, and so she will possibly be publishing a few other books in this world, which I'm so excited about, and I honestly can't wait. If you can't tell, I did also give this one a 5 stars. It's one of my new favourite books of all time, and I just highly recommend you read it because it's phenomenal. And then the last prompt that I needed to complete for the Make Your Myth Take a Readathon was to read the next book in a series, and for that I chose Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse by Riordan. This is the 3rd book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and this is actually my first ever time reading the Percy Jackson books. I know. I did start reading the series in April, I believe, and so I really needed to get a move on in reading this 3rd book. I love these books so much. They're so easy to fly through because the writing is so fast-paced and they're very action-packed, so you do get through them quite quickly. However, in this one I felt like there was a lot less action than in the 1st book. So in the 1st book, a boy named Percy discovers that he is actually half human, half god, and that he is the son of one of the big 3, who are the main 3 gods of Olympus. So we have Zeus, Poseidon and Hades. All of them have sworn not to spawn any more children, and so Percy coming into this world is in danger. In the first one, Zeus thinks that Percy has stolen his master lightning bolt, and so he is sent on a quest to retrieve it and find out who the actual thief was. I'm not going to say anything about this one just because it is the third book in a series, but I don't know, I didn't enjoy this as much. We do have a lot of new characters introduced, which I did really like, but like I said, nothing really happened until the last 70 odd pages, and even then it was over so quickly that I didn't feel like the threat was as bad as it was in the first two books, and this is meant to be the point now where everything gets a lot more serious. It does also say on the back that there are deaths in this book, but I wasn't really that affected by anything that happened, which sounds bad. I mean, I was a bit upset, but nothing major. So I just feel like this book for some reason didn't hit the mark for me as the other two books did. Saying that though, I will be continuing on with the series, but I did give this one a 3.5 or a 4 stars, I think. I honestly can't remember, but you can always follow my Goodreads, that's linked down below if you do want to know my ratings for the books that I read. I always log them on Goodreads, so be sure to check that out if you're interested in what I rate books. I really hope the next two books are better than this one. I think this was a bit of a lull, but hopefully it gets better from here, and I honestly cannot wait to carry on with this series because I've just had such a good time reading it. And then lastly, I don't have a physical copy of the book to show you because I did listen to the audiobook of All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This is a memoir about his experience growing up in America as a black gay man, and it is honestly so powerful and so moving. I read it all in one sitting, and I feel like it's a book everyone needs to read because it's a story of love, self-acceptance, you know, dealing with a whole lot of difficult topics that black gay men have to face every single day in a country where it shouldn't be happening, and it's just very eye-opening. I know I personally can never relate to anything like that, but like I said, I feel like every single person needs to read this book so that they're aware of people's situations and the prejudice that is in the world about gay men and black gay men in particular. It is a massive problem and it's not widely spoken about, and I feel like it definitely should be, and this book definitely packs that punch and lets you know what reality is like. I felt very strange in rating this because I haven't read a whole ton of non-fiction or memoirs, so I don't really know how I would go about rating it, and because it's obviously the author's personal experience, I don't feel like I can put that into a star rating. But for the sake of Goodreads and my rating system, I did give it a 4 stars. I do want to reread it though, and I feel like I probably will bump up my rating just because it was so impactful and I'm still thinking about it now. George M. Johnson himself does narrate the audiobook as well, so that was even more powerful, and just to hear the author read his own words was just something else. It was just so powerful and so moving, and I really appreciated this book. And I do highly recommend every single one of you to read it if you can. It is for free on Scribd, that's how I listen to it, and I feel like that's probably the best way to go because, like I said, the author himself does narrate it, so you will feel every single thing the author wants you to feel, and it's just brilliant, to be honest with you. So these are the 4 physical books that I read in the second half of June, as well as the audiobook of All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. I'm very happy with this little stack, to be honest with you. All of them were really good reads, and I have definitely found a new favourite in the Priory of the Orange Tree, so I'm so glad about that. Again, I just want to say a massive thank you to Ashley and Charlotte for hosting this read along. I know stuff had to change due to the situation with COVID and the lockdowns and whatnot, but honestly they both did such an amazing job. I loved participating in this readathon. I loved the live shows and the little posts that they did every week. I just thought it was absolutely brilliant, and I do hope that you do this again next year. But that's it for today's video, guys. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like button as well as the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. It truly does mean the world to me, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!